Hi, I wanted to understand in detail how does a coding agent like Codex, Claude Code, and others work under the hood. To achieve this, I built Gafur, a workplace-safe MCP Pydantic command line application. I'll show you a demo, the architecture, the UX, and also share the lessons that I have learned along the way while building Gafur. Let's start with the demo. What I have here is I have a directory called Gafur Playground. I have created a Python virtual environment, and the task that I'm going to ask Gafur is to create a fast API endpoint which will take a username and greet the user. I've mentioned this in my task.md file. Okay, so let's launch Gafur. Now Gafur is a command line app written in Node. So I've installed it through the build process. I would launch it from the command line. Okay. So it says I have already set my OpenAI key and the model I'm using is GPT-5 Nano. Okay. And these are some of the packages it installs for the Python MCP server. Okay. So it is now asking me for an input. I'm going to give this task that I've already written. Okay, it took some time for Gafur, about 15 seconds or so, and now I have some output. Gafur says that it basically is telling me whatever it has implemented, all these things, right? It also created requirements.txt file, which was not there before, with fast API and UVCon in there, and it has also created a README file in which the instructions on how to run this fast API endpoint is there. Yeah, so how should we run it? All these instructions are there. Okay, and some additional information. At the end of its response, it also shows me how many input tokens were given from my end and what was the output token it has generated, right? I mean, to write down this code, how many tokens it required. Session tokens is nothing but if I ask any follow-up questions on this, this will be having a cumulative sum. So this number will keep on increasing. The token used is for individual chat interaction messages from the user and the output it is generating. Okay, so we have something. Now what we'll do is we will install the requirements.txt file that Gafur has created for the Python packages. But before that, let's see, we have an additional functionality in the UI of Codex. You can ask it to display the contents of any file based on the current directory it is in. Okay, so I will ask what are the contents of, I will press the @ symbol, and you can see these are the different files that are there. So I would click on requirements.txt and hit enter. Okay, so we should expect to see fast API and UVCon. Maybe it is not correctly going to show the output like this, but anyways, let's proceed with our demo. Okay, so I would activate my virtual environment and install the requirements.txt file. Okay, I think we have the packages, and to run this there are again instructions in the readme file. I'm going to copy paste this and run it. We have a server running. Yeah. Okay, I will try it out. I would say Saurabh, execute, and we have the response. So pretty much everything done by Gafur except for me, where I set the virtual environment for this project, and it executed very well. Okay, so we have it here. If I want to, let's say, change the name of this app in main.py file, I can do that. I can also additionally ask it to write test cases, but it will again ask me to install dependencies, for example PyTest. So all this happens with Gafur. You can do that. Now I will show you some other things that I have implemented with Gafur, other than it taking a task and writing a code for it. So as soon as I press the /, I have some menus. So the configure is for setting up your LLM vendor API keys, and also for setting the model that you want to use. So as of now, I have only implemented the configurations for OpenAI. So if I click configure, I would see set OpenAI key. So I have already set, that is the visual clue that I'm getting. I can delete my stored API key, and the model that I have, I can also set it to GPT-5. It's just that GPT-5 Nano is inexpensive, so I've used it for this experiment. Okay, so I would press escape, and if I look at MCP and deploy are two unimplemented menus at the moment, simply because I did not want it to spend much time. There's no end to this rabbit hole of MCP, and how much ever you want to perfect the deployment option for your work. So for now, these are unimplemented. Notifications is where I can set sound notifications. If a task gets completed, or if I exit Gafur, then some notifications are played. And with the quit menu, I can exit Gafur. So that's what it is. I mean, this is the demo. Okay. Now let's take a look at the code part. The logic of Gafur is written in Python, and the UI is in Node.js. So I make use of Pydantic AI as the agent framework, simply because it is easier to get started and implement an agentic workflow. I make use of OpenAI models, but if you want to implement your model, Pydantic also supports other vendors, so just change the class and you can implement it. I make use of two MCP servers. One is MCP run Python. So if I ask a message like how many days do we have till 31st of December 2025, it will calculate, it will use Python, write a code, and then it will calculate the days. So this is where the MCP run Python comes into picture. The other MCP server that I'm using is called Desktop Commander. So all the read writes that are happening in a directory, or any other additional file system related tasks are there, it is being done using Desktop Commander. So MCP protocol has a file system, as an official file system MCP server, but Desktop Commander is built on top of it and has many more features, including higher security. Okay. Yeah. So this is hard coded for now, and you can change it from the environment variables if you do the configuration for the backend model. Same goes with the key. Okay, now coming on to the instructions part, or this is the system prompt for the agent. So if you recall, when we were doing the fast API demo, there were about 10,000 tokens that were being sent, and although the task of doing the fast API endpoint was very small, it was not up to 10,000 tokens, barely 100 or 200 tokens. So all this thing that you're seeing here goes each time the agent makes a call to the LLM API, right? And for this particular reason, I think making use of your own models through API keys is not, it is an expensive affair. Basically, it is not easy. So if you get any coding agent which are about $20 per month, it is worth the deal, because if you do heavy coding each day using agents, you're soon going to cross $20 or so. So I've implemented some custom instructions here, like the workspace thing. I pass in a workspace directory here. The current directory is only given to Gafur. It will not take any other file or directory to write its content. So I make available the list of tools from desktop commander that Gafur can use. Then some custom prompting for workflow, communication, Python and fast API, right? So all these things are there, error handling and other things that goes into the prompt, right? And this is how I basically pass all this configuration here to the agent, and then it is called. Then the Gafur ask agent. So basically this is a helper function which calculates the input and output tokens that you saw at the end of each chat conversation, right? And then I have this desktop commander function, which basically tells that no matter what, you should not go outside of the root, or the working directory that you are in. So this is the backend part of Gafur. Now this Gafur.js basically implements the command line CLI, and to be honest, I've written this particular JavaScript completely using vibe coding. I really am bad with JavaScript and such other frameworks other than Python, so I just made use of vibe coding and created the UI. So I do have a very well written Gafur documentation. The README file consists a lot of things that are part of Gafur at the moment that you can use and do things that you want to do. Okay, so one more thing, if you do decide to learn from what I have implemented, clone this repo and go to the agents directory and open coding agent. You can make your changes here, and you can run the Gafur CLI from scratch, not from scratch, but if you just want to make changes and run it, simply run it as a Python executable file. That's it. You don't need to have JavaScript interface or the build process each time if you want to try things on your own. So that was about the code part. Now let me share my learnings of implementing Gafur. Initially, my thought was to create a CLI agent entirely in Python. I wanted to use Typer from the Python ecosystem, but I soon hit the wall with limited options that are there with the compatibility, like using the / or the @ symbol, and also audio. The second learning is whenever you are developing something, use observability platforms like Logfire, which is kind of alternative to Langsmith and Arise Phoenix. They help you understand what is happening under the hood when LLM calls are made, and existing tools, how they are interacting, right? The third lesson I want to talk about is why I did not make use of Gemini CLI. So I realized that it is far easier to write code from scratch rather than download someone else's code, make changes to it, then go into that flow or whatever things that they have developed, and develop your work accordingly. So I just found that I would learn a lot of things if I implement things on my own rather than forking an existing repo. So what really differentiates Claude Code or Codex CLI from other tools like Gafur? So the answer is agent harness. An agent harness is the runtime that wraps the LLM agent and turns model responses into safe, repeatable actions. They provide tool access like files, shells, then test, sandbox environment, a control loop, which basically has plan, act, observe, and the reflect state. It also has state and memory management, and has an inbuilt observability thingy. So this is where the differentiator kicks in. I mean, we can work 100 hours, 200 hours to develop our own CLI agent, but you have this agent harness, which comes from a very well defined infrastructure, which we developers may not have, but frontier labs may have access to. And yeah, this is the differentiating factor. I mean, anyone can build agents, it's not that hard. Would I use my own coding agent Gafur? Honestly, no. There are just too many things that can be implemented. So it is never a finished product, and you are always iterating. And when there is an existing product that does most of the things for you, you don't want to build things from scratch, but simply buy it, get the subscription, and work on the thing, rather than spending countless hours iterating and improving your own CLI agent. What new things I would implement? Honestly, at this point, I don't think I'll be making more changes to Gafur, because, as I said, better alternatives exist and it makes sense to use them instead. But if I were to use, I would use git diff. The changes that you have made after giving a task to Gafur, it will show the present and the past changes that are there. Then also, I would make use of commands like rip grep, which is a modern approach of indexing your code base into a local machine itself, rather than sending the entire code base to any third-party server. So there are some tools which do this task very well, and I would introduce these changes in Gafur. So I hope I presented this topic in a way that you could understand. If there are any questions, please reach out through comments or DMs, and I would be happy to address them. So I hope you enjoyed this video that I made on Gafur. I wish you a nice rest of the day. Thank you.